A Ford Ranger 2008, and we were having problems where the brakes were squeaking and the e-brake wasn't releasing. So I had taken apart, and the shoes were pretty worn. So I replaced the shoes and I replaced the springs, put it all back together, adjusted it, and it would work fine until we would apply the e-brake and then try to release it, and it wouldn't release. And a lot of people have said the cables are sometimes at fault, but in this instance, I discovered it was something else. This little piece right here is shaped like an H, and one side of the H has a really long arm on it. And this long arm was put in back behind the e-brake lever, which you can see is way back there. And so when you'd apply the e-brake, it would kind of wedge itself on a hump, and then it wouldn't release, it would get stuck there. And the other really obvious thing when we took it apart was that the self-adjusting lever here was hanging down below the wheel on the adjuster. And now that we've reversed this metal piece here, that H-shaped piece, and put the long arm in front, it has positively affected the cable tensioner and the adjuster now sits right on the adjuster wheel. So we can look at the other side, which I have not reversed yet. Hopefully you can see it. Here's that H-shaped piece, and as you can see, it ends right there. It doesn't go all the way out to where the cable wraps around. That means the long side is in the back. And you can see the adjuster here is just hanging down. It isn't actually touching the wheel here. And so I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to reverse that H shape so the long side, instead of being in back, is in the front. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so here we have, I took off the rear shoes and the drum on the passenger side. And it came apart in a wonderful way where you can see that this H-shaped piece of metal is on backwards and it's stuck. It's actually stuck onto the brake piece here. Okay, so you can see this is the lever that's supposed to press the shoe out when you activate the e-brake. And you can see how there's a big hump in it, and this long piece coming off of this H has wedged the lever to the shoe, and it's actually stuck on there. So this is why the e-brake isn't releasing. I mean, I actually pulled the whole thing apart and it's stuck on there firmly enough that, you know, I can even wiggle it and it's not coming off. And it's just supposed to sit there and act like a fulcrum for them to push against. So these are the 9-inch brakes. If you have the 10-inch brakes, you're probably going to have a pin there with a horseshoe on it instead of just a slot. Here is the passenger side put back together, and you can see the long arm is on the front and the adjusting lever sits right on the wheel. And so we'll get the brakes adjusted and take it for a drive. So I've adjusted the drums and put them back on. And now I have the e-brake on and it doesn't turn. I release the e-brake. I come back and you can turn it. So I think we have it on both sides, good to go. Hopefully this helps you with your e-brake problem on your car.